Cards to Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins, located on 1488, right next to a big old movie theater. I'm Chaz Graves, and here with me today, Preston Laird and Mark Blair.
Hey, welcome back to Cards to Yards, where we talk about all things sports and trading cards. So, Preston, it's been again, we keep saying this like every week. It's like this is an unprecedented time for trading cards, and there's really no other way to say it, and it just keeps happening almost on a weekly basis. And you and I kind of waxed poetic about our thoughts about this whole Fanatics deal and Topps losing their license potentially. Again, like none of the companies have been really forthright in exactly what's going on. There's been all these, bubbling rumors for a while from, the different unions and leagues and how big this Fanatics deal is really going to be. Well, we got an actual kind of like real evidence of how big this could possibly be because Fanatics trading card business has been fully backed, and not only that, they're valued at $10.4 billion. And I had to really emphasize that B there for billion because I looked at that article and I was just like, is that possible? And I knew that they were already a big business with sports apparel, of course, as we've discussed, but is that like an insane number to you, or knowing that they own the market for the next 15 to 20 years for the three major sports, does that kind of add up with the way the market's going?
You know, the numbers that are being thrown out these days, nothing really surprises me anymore when it comes to this industry. Where players are signing $300-400 million deals all the time these days, it seems like. So, I mean, when you're talking 10 billion for the amount, the scope of what they have under their umbrella now, I don't think it's outrageous by any means. It doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, and just the deals that they're talking about, it being like 15 to 20 years for the MLB, MLBPA, NBA Players Association, and NFLPA and NFL, with the potential for them to swoop up a company like Upper Deck, because remember they've never made a trading card to this point yet. It's gonna be a really interesting journey because at some point we're gonna have to see, and this could be years, but card designs, quality control, quality assurances, the direct to consumer thing that they've been touting that they do. So it's gonna be crazy. But I mean, there's cornering the market, and then there's buying every property on the monopoly board and building hotels on all of them, right? So like this just seems. Someone actually asked me today that's recently gotten back into sports cards. They were like, that they hadn't heard that news before because it's still an industry news. It's not, unless you're like into stocks, bonds, or trading cards. And they were shocked. They were like, "But Mark, isn't that a monopoly?" And I go, "I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know if that falls outside of that or what."
it sure feels like a monopoly or something very, very similar to a monopoly. But there still are a handful of sports and licenses that they don't have, so therefore it's not officially a monopoly. But it wouldn't surprise me to see the government step in and do something. Who knows? I mean, years from now, like we've said in past episodes, it's going to take years for this to unfold. It's going to be very interesting, as you said. I just think we're completely in the dark right now. Yeah, we know that Fanatics is a huge mega company worth billions of dollars, but we have no idea what they're going to do with those billions of dollars going forward and how that's going to translate to the consumer, like you said. So it's just a sit and wait, kind of holding pattern for the next few years, and we'll see what happens. And I'm hoping that it's going to be for the betterment of the hobby and not the detriment.
Well, they definitely have the potential to really get the cards in the hands of way more people, and I think that that's what they're seeing, especially with the uptick in sales. And remember, before Topps was sort of undercut, they were valued at an all-time high, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they saw potential to grab the market, and they grabbed it. Again, we keep saying potential because that's really the only word we have to throw around. I mean, nothing's finalized yet. It's going to take 5 years for Panini and Topps' deals to run out. So we'll see what happens. But speaking of Topps and other licenses being out there, they made a move that kind of makes me think maybe the Fanatics deal is going to happen. They scooped up the license for baseball cards in Japan with the biggest league that there is over there. It's the NBL, Nippon Professional Baseball Organization. And believe it or not, this will be the first time in Topps 80-year history that they have made cards for the entire league, consisting of all 12 teams. They've made specialty sets for a few of the teams over there. Now, again, what do you think about that? I mean, it just makes sense, right? They make baseball cards, so they're like, well, we're just going to make more baseball cards for now.
Yeah, I mean they're just utilizing their tools that they've got in the box. They know what they're doing when it comes to baseball. Japan has been steadily growing in popularity when it comes to baseball for several decades now, and so yeah, I think they're positioning themselves for another revenue stream, and who knows, maybe we'll get some exciting players that come out of some of these sets that might wind up in the States one day, and then something like Otani perhaps, and truly explode. So I mean, just the name that Topps is going to be on it, Japan, I'm sure the market's going to be in huge demand for the product over there.
Yeah, you would think so, and it also might spark the interest in international baseball for people who collect MLB heavily.
Hmm.
The South Korea Baseball League took off during the pandemic because it
Yeah.
was the first major sport going, and ESPN was
And,
showing games like at 3 in the morning. So,
and it was the only sport that people could bet on for several weeks. So that was
yeah,
another reason why it was extremely popular.
yeah, and people love gambling by opening packs of sports cards and see what they get too.
Yeah.
So it's just a smart move, regardless of what if it's a move for their future or whatever they think. It's a license that was available,
Yeah.
and they took it. They took the opportunity.
Hey,
Um,
mark me down. Mark me down for a box or two.
yeah,
I'll take
I
one.
yeah I love products like that, and as we're seeing, obviously baseball, one of the biggest sports to collect, but as we're seeing, I mean, the market's moving on everything from UFC to Olympics cards, also from Topps every 4 years,
Yeah.
to NASCAR. So I mean,
And, and,
yeah.
and really for Topps, it couldn't be more perfect timing. They're coming off the historic year from Otani. So what better time to release a new product in Japan? I love it. I think it's a fantastic idea and exciting product. So
Perhaps a career-spanning insert set of him would
yeah.
also be a good chaser in there. Speaking of tops, I never really thought about this before, but they recently had a online contest for fans to vote to see who's the number one card for the 2022 set. I've never
Hmm.
really thought about the number one card of the set, even being like, as we've talked about, a set collector guy. That's never really struck me as a thing, I guess. But the past number one cards have included Jackie Robinson, Ted Williams, and Owen Ryan. So I guess I should have understood, like, oh, okay, like that. You're not gonna lead off with like a Astros middle reliever or something for your number
Yeah.
one card in your set. So the
Brian
players,
Belak's not going to be one. Yeah.
right? So I guess that is a big deal, and they've done this online voting. And current players that have held that title, of course, Mike Trout. He is up to vote for, and I should say that the voting is closed, so they have not released the results yet. But we have this list of like 20 players in front of us, including Otani, Tatis Jr., Joey Votto had a heck of a year, but it's a little bit older. Aaron Judge, whose Yankees just lost the wild card. We'll get to that. Bryce Harper, Jacob DeGrom, Jose Altuve, who will probably get the least votes out of everybody, even though
Right.
that I think that'd be a number one card. So Preston, off this list, my pick is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I just think he's just had a heck of a season.
Mark, you must be reading my mind because that was the exact player that I was going to suggest number one as well.
There we go.
He is the hottest player going right now. Just a tremendous all-around game, defense, offense. Very young. He's setting some records that only a handful of players have done in the history of the sport at such a young age already. So yeah, I would agree. Vladimir Guerrero. A second one, just because of the nostalgia, as we were just talking about, will probably be Shohei, since he had a historic, very, very unusual, unique season this past season.
And Wander Franco would also be interesting because they clearly held his card aside. Oh, I don't really know if Topps had any say in that. I think there's a certain call-up date where he could have rookie cards, but
I think it's a little early for us to be anointing the number one card spot for Wander. Now,
right.
I can't deny his popularity and the hype behind him, but tremendous showing just for the short span that he spent up in the majors this year. So next year is going to be his true rookie. So you'll be seeing a lot of rookie cards coming out next year.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a ton. So yeah, he's probably not deserving of the number one card spot on top of the stack, but he will definitely be the most sought after rookie, unless something crazy happens between now and then. So
I can't see how any other rookie is gonna be more desirable than Wanders. It's gonna be a crazy year next year for baseball.
Yeah, because it's just been such a long build-up, and people don't quite understand why he hasn't had a card yet. But I was telling someone today, it's like, look, Topps update is going to be hot anyway, and like so it doesn't make sense to try to jam it in there because that's going to be a big selling point of Series 1.
Oh gosh,
is his rookie card. So. And again, I think that was also based on like a mid-April call update. Maybe like they had to have been called up or seen major league action before then. But
right,
it just makes sense either way. But yeah, we'll report back on who gets that number one Topps card spot as voting closed earlier this week. So moving on, and I prefaced this like 2 weeks ago, but it's going to be NFL, leading off the sports segment most of the time until the Astros win the World Series. But so we have this guy, what's his name? Tom Brady.
oh yeah, that guy.
The GOAT.
Does he have like a supermodel wife or something?
Yeah. And he's won a few trophies, I think maybe like 7. But so
yeah,
I don't know if like, I'm thinking maybe some statistician looked at the NFL schedule and was like, okay, Brady's like at the beginning of the year, Brady will be like 1,000 and whatever yards away from. So let's just put this, as week 4, and let's have him go into Gillette Stadium against his buddy Bill Belichick and just break the passing record. Why not on a Sunday night primetime game?
Well, you didn't know they put a couple of NASA engineers, on this
Yeah.
problem. And they're on the payroll just for this year alone, and sure enough, they had it down to the penny on this one, man. That was an incredible game to watch on so many levels.
I mean, what is analytics worth if not getting the all-time greatest quarterback to go in there and break the passing record and for the team that he won 6 Super Bowls for, So but and of course. Oh, a little bonus. They won 19-17. So, and there was a lot.
Didn't make it easy.
No, and there was a lot of talk ahead of time. I forgot how much pageantry was behind when Drew Brees initially got the record, and they were in New Orleans, and they like stopped the game for 30 minutes and had his family on the field and all that.
Yeah.
That clearly wasn't going to happen, but he got his clapping and ovation and all that, and then of course was promptly booed after they won, knowing New England fans. But yeah, so he surpassed that record of 80,358 passing yards on a 28-yard completion of Mike Evans. Again, they won the game. Brady already had the records for touchdown passes, regular season wins, and Super Bowl titles. That last one, I don't think is ever going to get beaten. There's not going to be another QB with 7 Super Bowls. I just don't see that happen.
I agree 1,000%. I that will never be broken. I think that the passing yards and touchdowns and things of that nature will be simply because the NFL is wanting to add more and more games to the league. So when you do that, it kind of skews the record books. A lot of people don't really delve into that. Maybe that's something we can go into further on some other shows in the future. When it comes to baseball and basketball and football and how they schedule, you don't understand that the scheduling is much different than it was in the early 1900s. So it has a lot to do with setting records down the road. So yeah, but I agree with you. The Super Bowl record will never be broken.
Yeah, and to your point, even adding that 17th regular season game this year, I think you're going to see the new benchmark for quarterback speed, 3,500 yards in a season rather than 3,000.
Oh yeah,
Because these
minimum.
guys are just tossing it all over the.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's
We're going to see a 6,000
crazy.
yard season within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
If it takes that long, I think 5,000 is going to be the norm. It used to be 4,500 yards, and man, that was a crazy season. Now you're going to see several quarterbacks a year, I think, top the 5,000 yard mark.
And then as far as the value of Brady cards, have we reached a law of diminishing returns as far as in, are his cards going to be just as valuable with 7 Super Bowls rather than 8 or 9? Or I mean, at some point it's just like, oh, okay, Brady's the best at this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already the GOAT. Like how there's going to have to be like a different type of GOAT, like a GOAT with a crown on it or something. I mean, like what
Well,
else can you do?
the thing is, Brady just keeps on getting more and more fans along the way. So the fans are what dictates the prices. So the more fans that you have, the more demand there is, and therefore that creates scarcity. And so, yeah, I do think that there's still a little bit of upside for Brady. I think that he's still continuing to get some followers along the way they're jumping on the bandwagon at this late hour. So I mean, he just keeps on amazing, and there doesn't seem to be anything that's going to slow him down anytime soon. So I think for the next couple of years, he's still going to be relevant.
One thing is for certain, though, as we look at the rest of Week 4 here in the NFL, is that there may not be another Tom Brady, but there's definitely a lot of good young quarterback talent, and
Yeah.
that's hard to do because there's been droughts. I mean, there's been seasons and seasons that go by, and it's like, Brady or bust. And you've had the handful of quarterbacks like obviously Breeze and Rodgers have been consistent and won Super Bowls, but there's so much talent, and a couple of those young QBs played each other. The Chargers brought the previously undefeated Raiders a little bit back down to earth. The Raiders were undefeated. The Chargers beat them 28-14 last Monday night. And one of these quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, led the Chargers to the win and up to a 3-1 start. Derek Carr struggled a bit. We talked about that. He was kind of on that short list of QBs who could be the next big thing, and it's just he's up and down, right? But the Raiders at the end of the day, they're 3-1. They're looking ahead to the rest of the season, but he did struggle a bit, less than 200 yards passing and an interception. And I think he was quoted as saying, like, if they can chant MVP for me 3 games in the season, they can boo me. It's fine. So
Yeah.
he does have a good attitude and the right attitude. But and then on the other side of the ball, it's been no secret in the hobby that Justin Herbert, people obviously have invested lots of money in him already.
Yes, absolutely, and they will continue to do so because he is a phenom. He's amazing, like you were saying. And I mean, this last couple of years, we've gotten probably one of the best crops of QBs that we've ever seen in the league in a short span of time. I do think that a lot of the reason why that we're seeing that is because the lines are being a lot less blurred in between the college game and the NFL game. They're kind of merging together, coming together in this kind of mishmash of styles, game plans, and things of that nature. So the transition from the college game to the NFL is not as drastic as it was in the past. That window, that learning window, that curve is a lot shorter than it has been as a result of that. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And just these coaches know exactly what these players can do because it's
mhm.
every test in the book, every analytical software going.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Because
yeah.
so many quarterbacks in years past, these coaches were trying to put that square peg in the round hole,
Mhm.
trying to make something out of these quarterbacks that they just simply didn't have in their toolbox. So yeah, I agree with you. It's the coaches are more aware of what these QBs are good at and what they're not good at, and they're focusing on that instead of trying to put them into a preset system that's been the mantra of the NFL for so long. And so they're thinking outside the box now, which I think is giving us more entertaining football as a result.
Do you remember how many years went by when teams kept trying to get Texas Tech QBs and transition them to the league because their QBs were throwing for like just insane pass yards and 50
Yeah,
touchdowns a year? And then you're just like, oh, just give up on Texas Tech QBs. They're a system guy. They're not really that great. Don't draft Patrick Mahomes.
yeah.
Okay, so that was my TED talk on how I was wrong about Patrick Mahomes. But but what you're saying is, like we know this guy's immensely talented. Let's just make our system his system and we're good. I mean,
Yep.
that's kind of what's happening rather than, and there are system guys like Bill Belichick, and then
Yes.
so you get a guy that fits that system. But like don't try to force it or don't get a QB that's not going to fit your team if
Yeah.
you're not going to do everything to build that team around them. But
That's happened so many times. I think a lot of really good, talented quarterbacks' careers were cut short because of that, and with the coaches not recognizing that soon enough and trying to force them into something that they never should have been, situations they never should have been put into the first place. So
and then speaking of Texas Tech, because of the head coach now, but and young quarterbacks that were really good and they come to the pros and the team does everything that they can to make them shine. Arizona Cardinals off to a red hot start, 4-0, at least 31 points a game. It's crazy. And check this out. Check out this stat. Kyler Murray, the third player in the Super Bowl era to have 4 wins, a completion percentage of at least 75%, and 1,200 yards through 4 games. The other
yeah,
two, Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson.
that's crazy.
And I know that sounds like a hype train stat, right? But like it's really impressive.
It
It's
is.
still really impressive, and he's got a lot of talent around him in Arizona, especially wide receiver wise. And they were able to hand Matt Stafford and the LA Rams their first loss, beating them 37-20. But Kyler
Yeah.
Murray is just out of this world right now.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, and your team is going really well when DeAndre Hopkins is only getting 20% of the targets, and you're still kicking everyone's butt. And you know that their offensive machine is running and clicking on all cylinders right now. I think that they're the surprise of the season at the 4 game mark. Personally, for me, I thought they would be pretty good, but I didn't think Murray was going to ascend to this level that he's done so far this season. I mean, last year it was a good season. People had some high hopes for him and all, but I didn't envision him being quite this good. Yeah, phenomenal.
And then to take it to the sports card market, you can see what people think about him. I mean, it's his
Yeah,
again. There's only so many things you can say about sports cards without saying his cards are on fire, but they are. So
yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
that's how it goes.
Kyler Murray
Um,
closed the gap on has closed the gap on Mahomey a little bit these last 3 4 weeks. That's for sure.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see like at the halfway mark, where these young quarterbacks are at. But yeah, it's fun to watch. That's for
How
sure.
would
Oh, go ahead.
how would you like to see a Super Bowl with Mahomes and Kyler Murray?
Oh, it'd be great.
That would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
That would be it'd be hard to watch a guy who should be a Hall of Fame wide receiver for the Texans in the Super Bowl and DeAndre
Yeah,
Hopkins, but that
I'd be happy for him though. I sure would.
Yeah, and you and I are Houston fans. There's not much to talk about the Texans' 40
No.
point loss to Buffalo. So we're just and this hurts my heart to do this, but I picked a few games, and the last one I picked the Dallas Cowboys, and I really just I'm not a Cowboys fan, obviously, but
Yeah.
look, they're off to a 3-1 start. Ezekiel Elliott is healthy, and they look pretty good.
Yeah.
They won 36-28. They handed the Panthers, who are another surprise team this year, um, and especially the way Sam Darnold is playing. But Cowboys are looking good. Ezekiel Elliott looks healthy. He had
Yes.
143 yards on just 20 carries, and Dak Prescott seems to have bounced back from that gruesome injury. So, again, hurts my soul to talk good about the Dallas Cowboys, but you got to
Yeah.
mention it.
Well, it's in my genetic code to hate the Cowboys. You know, by the time I was able to even speak at probably 3 years old, I knew that I was supposed to hate the Cowboys. So it just comes natural. I was an Oiler fan, and anyone that has ever been an Oiler fan, it's a sacrilege if you say you like the Cowboys. So, but however, that being said, I am a Dak Prescott fan, and it's just something about that guy that I love. I love his attitude. I love his game. I think he's actually become a more rounded quarterback in the last couple of years. If you'd have told me 3 years ago, did I think Dak Prescott was a franchise quarterback, I would say, I think you're stretching it a little bit. But now I think that he may be. He may actually be a franchise quarterback. And Ezekiel, like I said, is looking fantastic. So they're not putting a whole lot of pressure on Dak right now. I like the way they're mixing in the run game with the passing game. But if they have to open it up and have him throw for 400 yards, he's certainly capable of it. But right now they're a very well balanced team.
And again, I feel bad about praising the Cowboys. So as we transition to baseball talk here, I'll just say the Rangers got a 100 loss season again. So speaking of baseball, though, the divisional series playoffs are now underway. Uh, the wild card games, it ended up being the Yankees and the Red Sox, and the Dodgers and the Cardinals.
Hmm.
Red Sox beat the Yankees pretty bad. Garrett Cole didn't fare too well. And so this is a sports card show, and so you got to think, had the Yankees been able to get to the World Series or win, his cards would be hot. But it's like he's a really good pitcher, but he was better with the Astros, so we'll just get
Yeah,
that out
yeah,
there. and
that
and
was a huge mistake on his part.
yeah, and so Yankees. There's always going to be a lot of fans collecting them, and I'm not saying we'll just see. We're going to see what they do. I think they're going to probably be forced to blow up that nucleus soon, just because this may not be the right combination for them, especially in this. If this division is going to be like this, with contending with a really young Toronto team, and then of course the hated rival, the Red Sox, and then if Tampa keeps this going, I thought Tampa was going to be like the Marlins of old, where it's like they get
Yeah,
blown up every few years, but I don't know, I don't. They're looking pretty consistent, so um, we'll see what happens there. And now, of course, the Red Sox have to turn right around and play the aforementioned Rays. And finishing out the AL before we get over to the NL, Astros, White Sox, like you said, has sort of been building for 2 months.
yeah,
And as we're recording this, Game 2 is complete, and Astros are 2-0.
yeah.
And as a Houston sports fan, I'm always hesitant, but I'm actually confident that they're gonna knock off the White Sox here. And even media-wise, most people are picking the Astros to go to the World Series. So, what do you
Mhm.
think of them so far in this early postseason?
They're just picking up where they left off for the last several years. This team has so much playoff experience. They are so calm and collected. You know, my unbiased opinion. I mean, of course, they're an incredible team. They are a little bit suspect on the pitching side, but I think the way that Dusty's handled the pitching staff this year has been commendable. It's been kind of a strange season for baseball when it comes to the handling of pitchers. It's like the lowest usage rate for starting pitchers in like 50 years or something of that nature. I can't remember exactly what the statistic was, but pitchers have gone fewer innings on average this season than they have in the past 40 years, somewhere around there. And
Wow.
so it's definitely been more of a chess match when it comes to managing the starters and the bullpens this year. So I think that we're in great shape all around, but offensively, top to bottom, 1 through 9, especially 1 through 8, there is no better offensive team in baseball, hands down. I dare you to show me another roster as good.
And it's a good time for you to be a Kyle Tucker collector.
Yes, sir.
I really think, I think that a lot of people sleep on the Astros because of the 2017 controversy, and they're just not over it. And we'll see what happens with the younger players on that. I'm confused as to why Jordan Alvarez, especially after the season he had, is not
Right?
is not like in the top 5 as
Yeah.
far as card growth right now or whatever.
Dude,
But
he's right there with the Acunas, with the Vladimir Guerrero Juniors of the world, with the Fernando Tatises. Yeah, and really the only reason why is because he's got that beautiful star on his jersey, and eventually people will get past that and realize just how good this team is and how good they're going to keep being down the road. As much as the majority of baseball fans don't want to hear that, that's just the truth. That's the sad truth from your perspective. From our perspective, it's fantastic. It's the best time in history to be an Astros fan, and I'm eating it up. And up 2-0 in a 5-game series. All the pressure's on Chicago, and looking forward to moving on to the next.
And you were talking about pitching usage. The rule that a pitcher has to come in and face 3 batters is absolutely killing La Russa right now. He's that type of manager that this rule was made for, because
Yes.
you had a lot of especially in the postseason, you had a lot of managers out there that would bring in one guy, face one batter, and then just like an inning would take 40 minutes or whatever. And
They're just disrupting the flow of the game. Yep.
yeah, and it is interesting that MLB decided to keep that rule throughout the playoffs, but not the runner on second rule.
Yeah.
So if we do end up going to extra innings, it'll be with no one on base, traditional,
Thank
and
goodness.
could last forever.
That rule is the absolute worst rule ever created. I understand why they did it. Why they had to carry it over into this season is beyond me. I hate it, and I'll be glad when it's the taste of that out of our mouth forever, because I don't like it. It affects the game too much. It's just too much. It has no place in baseball.
As someone who used to work on the production side of MLB games, and they would go 4.5 hours, or if we would have an Angels game on the West Coast and it goes 7 hours, I really love the rule, but the Astros are really bad at it.
Yeah.
And I think they actually had one more win than loss with going into extra innings this year. But I'm glad. I love the shootout in hockey, right? But I'm glad that they have traditional overtime in the NHL playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs. Just the same way I'm glad that they're going to scrap that rule for now.
Yeah.
Because I want to see like those 13 inning, 14 inning, like nail biting games that are going 5 hours and everyone's leaving it on the field. And just one more fun stat to throw out there going into the White Sox Astros series. Can you believe La Russa and Dusty Baker had managed 208 games against each other? Their record was 104 and 104.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And speaking of, people's hatred of the Astros, I do have one theory as to how that could all be healed, and that's for us to play the Dodgers in the World Series and just do it legit. Let's go for it. Whatever happens, happens. And that could still happen because, believe it or not, the Dodgers, even though they won over 105 games or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They were second in their division, so they had to play the one game wild card against the Cardinals, and they barely escaped. They
Yes, they
barely
did.
made it.
They were
I mean,
fortunate.
they had to rely on Chris Taylor to hit a walk-off homer in the ninth to get rid of the Cardinals. And now here's another insane stat. I just could not believe this. The Dodgers and Giants have never met in the playoffs.
Yep. That is crazy.
Wait, what?
It is.
I,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And then the other NL series, Brewers Braves. So who do you like out of the NL as those matchups stand?
You know, in the NL, I still think I think San Francisco is going to carry the momentum as much as everybody wants to see the Dodgers and Astros. I would like to see that myself, but I think San Francisco is going to take the series against the Dodgers. I just think they're just on this incredible run, um, and the Dodgers weren't able to catch them, and everyone thought they would. So they're losing tonight. We'll see what happens. Logan Webb's pitching a gem so far in the fourth inning. They're down 2-0 to the Giants. So we'll see what happens. It could go either way, but my gut just tells me the Giants, even though
And
I truly believe that the Dodgers are the better team.
and it'll also be interesting to see who makes it out of that Brewers Braves series because I never expected the Braves to be here without Acuna Jr. most of the season. But Freddie Freeman's been playing like crazy. They have good team chemistry. And then Yelich hasn't really been up to his standards of the last few seasons on the Brewers side of things.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I think the Giants are going to make it to the championship series, and I think they're going to make it to the World Series, regardless of whether it's the Braves or the Brewers. So it'll
Yeah.
be fun, and it's fun. The Astros are fun, and there's so many mixed emotions about the whole 2017 thing. A lot of me just wants everyone to come clean and say who did what, and so then we
Yeah.
can really move on. Because if Altuve doesn't make the Hall of Fame because of of these allegations and all this, like it's just going to be a shame. And we've seen what happened to
Yeah.
the players in the steroid era. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens may not make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I
So
just I just think the situation is so much different. Astros got caught, quote, okay, air quotes, for doing something that pretty much every other major league team has attempted or done as well in some form or fashion. Uh, there's been recorded situations where people have used electronic devices on other teams as well, and it just hasn't had the publicity. They haven't thrown them under the bus like they made the Astros basically the scapegoat of MLB over this situation, which was completely unfair. And I'm not saying that because I'm a huge Astro fan. That is the honest truth. If you delve in, if you've watched baseball at all for a number of years, then you know that it's their goal to try to figure out what kind of signs are coming ahead of time, and any way they can figure that out, they're going to try to figure it out. So sign stealing's been around since the dawn of the game, and what the Astros did was no worse than what's happened in the past. We just happen to be in this social media crazy time now where people like to preach about how bullying is so unfair and you shouldn't bully people, yet it's America's favorite pastime is bullying. So I kind of take it with a grain of salt now. It's been almost, it's been 4 years since that season. It's been a couple of years since everything kind of came out to the open, and I just think that after this season, hopefully we'll be past the majority of this nonsense and get on with it and start appreciating these players for what they truly do on the field and the hard work that they put into that. And it shouldn't be taken away from them because of the 2017.
and especially the young players who weren't even around for that.
Yeah,
That's
which is the
a real
majority of
shame.
the team.
Right. And as you said, like it's not just allegations that have swirled around other teams. They've caught teams with iWatches and
Yep.
iPads.
Yep.
Okay, so what do you think they were doing? Just like tweeting? Well, guess what? If you ain't tweeting, you ain't trying. Just kidding.
Yeah, just look
Yeah,
up judge sealed documents for the Yankees and
yeah,
see what that says, and then come back to me with your holier than thou attitude about the Astros.
Right,
Mic drop.
which they still have yet to unseal. So.
Yeah. No, why in the heck is that? I don't get it. It's just selective enforcement is all it is. The Astros were getting too damn good, and everybody knows Houston can't have any good teams, and so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that Houston doesn't enjoy this stretch of dominance. So yeah. But
So we'll just get more and more agitated the more we talk about that.
Yeah.
So let's just
But
move
you know what?
on.
It's like Star Wars, man. Let the hate flow. Let it flow. It just makes us stronger.
Yeah, we'll see when the World Series gets here. I really think.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But until then, let's talk about opening packs. What's coming out? What new and recent releases?
We had Origins football come out this past week. That's probably the number one release of the week. Football's hot right now because, as we stated multiple times in our show. You can get one RPA per box for a rookie. That's a rookie patch autograph. It's a small set. It's a 100 base card set. So basically, you're getting the cream of the crop when it comes to the players in the NFL. You're not getting a whole lot of useless commons. And it's also the first NFL uniform on-card autographs from some of the top rookies of 2021. And then we got Optic Baseball that came out this week as well. That's also another smaller set that's going to include majority of the hotter players in the league, 100-card base set, 70 rated rookies, 30 Diamond Kings, some older Hall of Famers and stars and such. Fantastic product. You look at 20 packs per box, 4 cards per pack, and some really cool inserts in there from Fort Knox, the neon inserts and the T-321 inserts. And then Topps Update Baseball is going to be coming out, I believe, it's going to be a few weeks from now. I'm not even sure it's next week. Not 100% sure, so we might want to scratch that one. UFC Chronicles came out for Panini 2021, and that's going to basically have 4 or 5 different brands from the Panini collection in one product for UFC. It's the first product for the Chronicles of the UFC, so that's in high demand. Huge set compared to what we just talked about with the other releases. 400 cards in the set. You'll be able to get some autographs, including Brock Lesnar, Chuck Liddell, George St. Pierre, which is one of my all-time favorites. As little as I know about UFC, he's one of my faves, and so we're looking at that being pretty hot for the week. Anyway, speaking of RPAs, Mark, why don't you let people know what RPA truly means?
All right, Preston. Well, as you know, we like to throw out a glossary term of the week here on Cards to Yards. In case you're just getting into the hobby, you haven't heard some of these terms, and we're sitting here throwing them around like they're old adage. So RPA is a rookie patch autograph. It's a highly coveted rookie card that has both a premium jersey patch or swatch as well as an autograph. So that is what an RPA is. Thank you, Preston, for being along with me on Cards to Yards again as we talk about all things sports and trading cards, and we'll toss it back to Chaz.
On behalf of myself, Preston, and Mark, thanks for watching Cards to Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins Comics and Games, located on 1488 next to a big old movie theater. We'll see you guys next time.